We all have this fantasy, the heroic escape artist, breaking out of a carefully constructed dystopia and finally grasping reality. When we watch The Truman Show, we assume if we were in Truman's position, our inherent desire for truth would eventually force us to spot the seams in the sky. But late in the film, the show's architect is asked the only question that matters. Why has Truman never come close to discovering the truth in 30 years? Christof's answer is immediate and cold. He says Truman could leave at any time if he were absolutely determined to find the truth. He points out a startling structural reality. The production had no physical way to prevent him from walking out of the simulation. The implication is that Truman stayed not because he was physically trapped, but because for 3 decades he never felt a sufficient urge to question the reality he was given. If the hero of the story stayed because the world was simply too comfortable to doubt, it forces us to ask, is our own pursuit of truth a genuine drive, or just a story we tell ourselves to feel more awake than we are? Consider the physical design of Sea Haven. No deadbolts on the exits, no barbed wire at the perimeter, and no guards holding Truman back. The show's massive budget wasn't spent on traditional security or locks. Every cent went into making the environment so pleasant and the routine so frictionless that Truman would never feel the need to check the door in the first place. This is the logic of engineered complicity. The system functions by ensuring that comfort variables, the ease of life, consistently suppress the instinct for curiosity. Eventually, a lack of questioning becomes habit, and the subject's preference for stability fuels the system. The jailer becomes unnecessary. It suggests that the most efficient prisons aren't the ones we can't escape, but the ones we never think to leave because they feel like home. This isn't just a Hollywood plot point. Plato mapped this exact trap over 2,000 years ago with his allegory of the cave. In the cave, prisoners spend their lives watching shadows on a wall, accepting those flickering shapes as the sum total of existence. The Gnostics later mirrored this, arguing that the material world is a deceptive layer hiding a deeper reality. We often get bogged down in the mechanics of these fake worlds, debating whether we're in a simulation or being manipulated by the media. But the intellectual case for the world being a deception has already been built and rebuilt for millennia. We know our senses are easily fooled. The more pressing question is what we do once we know that. Christof's hypothesis is that artificial systems survive because the people inside them are prone to defending the shadows they recognize. History suggests that the primary barrier to truth isn't a lack of evidence, but the internal friction of facing something unfamiliar and potentially world-shattering. To test this hypothesis, we must look past the idea of being lied to by external forces. Framing ourselves as victims of a lie is often a defensive move. It shifts the responsibility of discovery onto the jailer and off of our own curiosity. The real question Truman's entire life story asks us is much more uncomfortable. Do we actually want the truth? When people face information threatening their stability, a trend emerges. As truth becomes more disruptive, our resistance increases. We show a strong bias toward high comfort and low truth, preferring to patch holes in a failing fabrication rather than tear down the wall. If you feel stuck in a reality that feels scripted or limited, the data on human behavior suggests the architect might not be an external Christof. Escaping your personal Truman Show starts with the admission that for a long time, you might have preferred the cell.